Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Talking Cardboard. My name is Cory.
And I'm John.
And if you like the content you see on the channel, please consider subscribing. We'd really appreciate it. And on today's video, we are reviewing the game Skulk Hollow. So Skulk Hollow, it is a two-player exclusive game, two-player only game. It is published by Pencil First Games and is very new to the scene. We didn't get it until recently. I believe it came out within less than a year ago, so we were excited to bring it to the table and give it a shot. We've heard great things, but yeah, we'll let you know what you think after John tells you the gameplay.
Yeah, there's really not a ton to this game. It's an asymmetrical two-player board game. One player takes on the role of the Guardian, which is this giant beast thing, while the other player takes on the role of the Foxen. And basically they're just like a kingdom of forest animals. You know, you got your knights, archers, hero. And basically as the Foxen, what you're trying to do is you're trying to kill this Guardian. And you do that by playing cards out of this deck you have, and the cards are either characters you can play, like these knights, rogues, and archers I was speaking of, or movement cards, or like combat cards, essentially. And you're choosing 3 actions a turn as the Foxen out of a hand of 5 cards to complete this task. And the cool thing about it is that each monster has these different spots on it that pertain to the actions it can take, and as you're dealing damage to these locations, it's actually preventing the Guardian from taking those actions.
Yep.
Which, along that tangent, I should also explain as the Guardian, there's 4 different Guardians in the base game. I don't know if there'll ever be an expansion, but if there is,
hopefully.
Yep. And as the Guardian, each one has a different objective that they're trying to reach. Like the base guy, his only objective is to kill 8 of the Foxen minions. Their hand size can vary, and they're limited to also a certain number of actions per turn. A little more powerful, but limited on actions. And basically then it's just a tug of war over these objectives that the Guardian's trying to get towards. There's some other little intricate rules, but I think for overall gameplay that about sums it up. First
pro for me is it's very thematic. It really feels like when you are the Guardian player or the Foxen player that you are doing very different things. Like John said too, it's very asymmetrical. As the Guardian, you've only got the 2 actions, whereas the Foxen have the 3 actions, so you feel like you are a lot slower of a giant type character. So I thought the theme was very cool, artwork very well done. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really strongly agree with this. If anyone's played the Shadow of Colossus video game, this really brings me to that mindset where, as the Foxen, you are the warrior trying to figure out how you climb up this beast and defeat it while weakening it by, like, hitting its arm or, stabbing out its eye or whatever it is. Yeah. Basically, you're stealing its powers away, and I think it's real dynamic to figure out how your opponent's using their powers and which ones you need to block in order to give your Foxen a chance. Alternatively, as the Guardian, you're also trying to figure out, okay, how do I prevent the Foxen heroes from disabling this ability instead of just hoping for some heal cards to regenerate it and then use it, because you're very limited on those action choices as the Guardian, so you really have to be smart about how you do every single action instead of wasting things.
Yeah, the actions are very tight in this game, especially when you get better at the game and your opponents get better. It's definitely a lot of strategy involved. The first couple plays, you're kind of still trying to figure things out, but as you get better and better, the strategy just really pours through. And I think along the lines of the theme still, it really is very thematic with the 2 separate boards as well. You've got the main board that you're moving around to try to tactically maneuver things, and then you've got the main Guardian board that has, like John said, all the different limbs that you're trying to injure, so they can't use those actions anymore.
And they do a really good job, I think, with the Guardian boards. It's not like, oh, we just broke it into 4 separate spots for each Guardian. It's like, if you're playing as the Centipede Guardian, it has more locations you need to be jumping to, and yeah, they have less health, but you still have to get your minions there to disable that thing. Yeah. Like, it has like 6 arms, so you disable 1 arm and take away that, but it still has 5 other ones that have like the stab action on it.
Yeah.
And it's like really cool that way, I think.
They're a lot weaker, but there's a lot more of them, so you're jumping around a lot more.
Yeah. I think they did a good job figuring out how these Guardians play and balancing it. Like, all our games have come really down to the wire. for either way. Granted, I think I won all of them, but still, they were really close.
And we should mention too that we have not played with all the Guardians yet, but we've played with a fair number of them, and they all play completely different. Right. It's not only an asymmetric game, but it's a really asymmetric game where you get a different feel with every different Guardian you play, and that just adds to, I guess, the next thing we can talk about after our pros is replayability. Right. But that is definitely another pro for me, is that really every time you sit down and play, there's something for everyone. If you've played it a lot of times and maybe that Guardian's getting a little stale for you, even if you're playing with newer players, you can try a different Guardian and it plays completely different.
Right, and even with the Fox, and yes, their deck is the same every time you play. They do have 4 heroes you can choose from, but I would also say that based on what Guardian you're facing, your strategy is going to change. Mm-hmm. It just has to. So even though that side of things does not change component-wise, like you have the same cards in deck, just your strategy has to vary to like fend off the abilities the Guardian has.
Yep. You have to be light on your feet, and you have to play not only to the way the different Guardians or the Foxen play to their strengths, but also each different opponent you play against, the way they play, you have to vary your strategies based on that. We have found online already that there is bracket play and kind of tournament play to this, so that would be a whole lot of fun too, I think, to try to get multiple copies of the game and have a full game day for that.
Check bounce back soon on that one, because we're thinking about it pretty strongly already for a live stream game day type thing. So.
We've already touched on replayability. I think it's highly, highly replayable. John thinks the same.
I would agree. 100%.
And moving into the complexity or the teachability of the game, John, what did you think of the complexity?
I think it's pretty average. I wouldn't say light. I mean, there are definitely some intricacies to this game, but there's not a ton of different things you can do. I mean, you get these cards that basically, some of them are split cards, but it's pretty obvious what you can or can't do with these cards. You do have some like special action cubes that maybe that gets a little gray for people, because you can do like a movement or a melee or attack or even use a special ability. But I think overall it's fairly straightforward. I mean, I don't know.
I would say the Foxen are harder to play than the Guardians most of the time, because you have more options available. But it's definitely a medium weight game or a middle weight game. Moving into the cons of the game, I guess my only con would be if you're playing with somebody who doesn't really like combat style games or highly competitive. It does have that nature to it, so that could be a con for some people. I could see that if you're playing with somebody who just wants to sit down and have a good time and not really rack their brains on strategy too much, it might not be for them. Not saying it's not for me, but that would be one con I could think of. Any cons for you?
No. I mean, it's a 2-player game. Typically, I don't like 2-player games, but I think with this game, you don't really have an option other than that. I mean, if you could find a way to play as multiplayer, that'd be pretty cool. But I think, this is really well balanced for 2 players, and I guess that wasn't really a con. That was just a statement more so. So no, not really anything. I don't know.
Yeah, not really.
Everything kind of fit well for me, and
just high combat, only 2-player. Those are really the only 2 cons. Not a con for us, but could be for some people. And moving on to, I guess, our overall ratings of the game, 1 through 10. 10 being the best game you've ever played, or one of the best, and 1 being complete garbage. We'll start with you. What do you think, John?
Now, I'll lead off with a caveat. This is our initial impression based on playing 2 of the Guardians and the Foxen a couple times here. But I'd be really shocked, like with this impression this game has made on me, I would probably rate this at least a 9.5, probably right off the bat. With more playthroughs, if I continue to like it and feel like there's a lot of strategy, I think this could easily be a 10. Or maybe it could swing the other way. The more I play it, the less I like it. But I highly doubt that. I think this really hits a lot of good points. I think it has cool artwork. I think the theme's really awesome. I like the depth of strategy. It's fairly easy to learn. It's just mastering that strategy, knowing when to play your action cards, and it's kind of like chess. Like you're kind of counteracting what your opponent's doing and trying to get one step ahead of them so you can eke out that victory at the end. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, very tight gameplay. I guess the only thing I could add to what John said, because I completely agree, but before I get into the rating, I will preface it with also agreeing with John that this could go up or down based on the number of plays we get in. But not only have we only played a couple of the Guardians, but we have played it I think everyone should know that we have played it multiple times with these two Guardians.
And we've taken the opportunity of, switching sides, once as the Fox and once as the Guardian.
Yep.
So we've gotten a feel for both perspectives.
Yep. So my rating out of 10 is a 9.5 as well. It is, the only reason it's not a 10 is I know John said that there are 4 different heroes for the Foxen to choose from, but maybe if there was like a variable win condition that you could throw in, maybe in an expansion where they're maybe collecting certain things or doing something different than just trying to kill the Guardian. But that's kind of the whole point of the game.
Right.
It might be kind of cool. The only other thing too, maybe an expansion or two could be just more variability with the Foxen.
Some kind of cards or heroes you can swap in or out or something.
Yeah, that's the only thing, is the deck is the same every time. But it's still a 9.5 out of 10 for both of us. This game is just fantastic. One thing we didn't touch on either yet is the overall presentation. The art, the card quality, the tokens, everything is nice, heavy, wooden tokens. And really cool screen printed tokens as well. So they didn't really chintz on the pieces at all.
Yeah, and they didn't make just one Guardian piece. They actually created a Guardian piece for each different Guardian, so they actually look different. I think it's really well done. Really surprised. Like, the first game I played, I was halfway through this game, and I was like, wow, this is gonna be fun. Like, I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah, almost right away. After the first few actions, I could tell John was liking it. But by looking at it first glance, I know I had kind of the same impression too. Right. We didn't know what kind of game to really expect. Like, okay, let's give it a shot. But it's awesome. It's amazing. It's one of our favorite games. Anyway, until next time, that wraps it up for today. I hope you all enjoyed the content, and you all have a great day.